Everyone, and welcome back to another Unity 3D tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be covering NavMesh a little bit, and pretty much what NavMesh is something you can actually apply to any AI that you're going to be setting up. Now this is a very useful tool built into Unity that I haven't talked about in the past. So pretty much you can apply this to an AI and your objects within a scene, and the AI will be able to calculate and go around those objects. So you're navigating around all the mesh that you want your AI to actually avoid. So if you had different objects or pillars or buildings or something set up and you wanted your AI to navigate it around it very well, you can just use NavMesh. Now in the past, if you guys remember this from the earlier tutorials, we ended up setting up a simple AI that would, follow our player around. Now the thing is, it could, collide with objects if we had collision set on them, but the only downside to that, if our player was on the other side and maybe the AI was over here, it might get caught up on the actual object itself. And what we want to do is actually calculate it and make it so the AI, knows the best path to go around it and doesn't waste time trying to catch up to the player or stuff like that. So pretty much to get started, it should be built into Unity at the beginning. So if you have, I believe, Unity 4.0 or later, it should be built in. I'm not exactly sure when it came out, but it came out a little while ago. And yeah, as long as you have that all set up, it should be under component and then navigation, and you should have all this here. Now what we're going to do is actually select all the objects that we want our AI to navigate around. So maybe you want to select your terrain and your objects and whatnot. And I think for now, yeah, we could just select all that just so it creates a navigation around the object itself. Now before that, you actually want to go in here, and if your object's not going to be moving around, if it's a static object, so it means it's just sitting in place, it's not going to be moving, because you can actually update it to where if it is a moving object, it'll also affect the AI to automatically update and move around that. You want to set these objects to static, so these two objects are ones that aren't moving, my ground terrain and this chest. So I will be applying that to this. So you can just select static, and then you want to go over to the navigation tab. Now this probably isn't there the first time you're using it, and what you want to do is just go to Window and select Navigation. And we can click on that. We get a couple of different options here. Now I did get an error earlier, this one, which is why I'm re-recording this tutorial, and I found out how to fix that very easily. You just come over to Radius, and so if you have very large terrain, very large scale, you just want to up this number. So I'm just going to do 10.0 or 10, and we'll just set it for that. And then we'll go back to Object. I'm just going to clear this for now, just in case something else was baked before and was stuck there. And then all you want to do is hit Bake. Now this might take just a little while to calculate, but it should calculate rather fast depending on how big your scene is. Now you should see a little bit of Z fighting, nothing to worry about really. I'm sure if I scrolled my zoom out it would maybe fix it. But as you can see here, it actually created a navigation around this chest itself. So our AI shouldn't conflict with that area. And so this is the basic NavMesh. You can do different heights and different slopes and stuff like that. So like sides of objects won't allow navigation and stuff and whatnot. And yeah, that's the basic way to set that up. I found it to be a little bit buggy. Maybe it's better in future versions. I still have 4.2, I believe, so it might still be a little bit buggy, but it still works fine. So if you jump back to Inspector, it disappears. Click Navigation, you can set that up and edit stuff. And you can rebake if you move around objects and whatnot, or add new objects. So it works very well. Now what we're going to do is go and click on our AI. Let's see our AI follow script real quick. We can probably disable this real quick because we're going to be using a different script to calculate this. Just something basic. I ended up creating a nav AI. And what this will do is actually use the NavMesh agent component, and it can calculate it that way to work with the NavMesh itself. So I'll be including the script in the description below. So you guys can check that out if you want it. It's pretty basic to write up, but I'll just toss it in there. So with this script itself, we actually want to click on our AI, add component scripts, and we'll go to NavAI. Now, you don't need to add anything to this component and automatically redirect it, but we do want to find our player, assign our player. Let's see. Oh, it's just player. Okay. So what we want to do is just drag and drop player onto target. So now it's assigned there. We're going to move our AI just a little bit out of that area for now. So yeah, that should be all set up. And now we want to add a component, navigation, and we want to add a NavMesh agent. And we can actually adjust all these settings if we want, the speed and whatnot. I might change this to 10, acceleration to 10, drop this down half. And let's see here. Yeah, you guys can just mess around with these settings if you really want to. Changing up some of these will make it affect it a little bit differently. Maybe the radius and whatnot. But yeah. So let's actually jump into game and see how this looks or works. He's going a little bit slow. Let's speed him up just a tiny bit. So we'll do, let's say, 17 by 17. So if I'm standing over here, you see he actually goes around that area that was marked, instead of running into it like he sloppily did in the past. Or if I'm like on this side, see if he pals around it. Hopefully he does. Maybe he got, oh, no, he's going all the way around. So there's some other code and stuff that you can actually apply to this AI to make them move around differently, not just, follow how it is currently. There's a bunch of other stuff you could do to make the AI a little bit smarter, a little more tricky, not just, the simple follow thing. But hopefully I'll make a couple of other tutorials and make this a part 1, just in case I want to make some more, which I do. So yeah, we'll talk about that later, and hopefully you guys can implement some cool moving AI into your games.